Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're having a lovely day. In the last video where I was talking about YouTube's payola scam, that video kind of evolved into a conversation about confidence in general and how people get scammed. I think a lot of people that get scammed are people that were trying to look to take advantage of a system that just was too good to be true, doesn't pass the smell test, looking for the easy way out, and people tend to do this, in my opinion, when they lack confidence. I want to discuss confidence, but more so how I think you gain real confidence rather than the things that we normally chase that don't give us real confidence. I wish I had learned this lesson in my early to mid 20s rather than my late 20s to early 30s. I likely would have saved myself a lot of hassle and aggravation if I really focused in on this lesson. So when I was younger, I did not have a lot of reasons to really feel confident. I was the skinniest and lankiest kid in my class and therefore the weakest. When I was 5'6", when I was 16 years old, I weighed 103 pounds. That's just bad. I was very socially awkward. I was not good at socializing with other people. And I was also broke, as were my parents. I did not have a lot of money. When I first started this company, I had saved up enough to have $250, and I tried to roll that into having parts available to fix 2 or 3 different models of computer, plus paying for the tools to do it. Needless to say, my life was a consensual Ponzi scheme, and it sucked. I thought as time went on, as I hit certain metrics, that I would feel more confident, but I never did until I started focusing on real confidence, and I didn't even realize what real confidence was at the time until somebody pointed it out to me. When I was doing this business early on, I was broke. Several years into it, I remember when I actually had enough money that for like maybe the next 5 or 8 months, I don't have to care about paying rent. If I wanted to prepay 8 months of rent, I could do it right now. I was no longer the broke ass that was getting his gas bill turned off because he decided to stock up on A1181 and A1226 grains at the same time. I actually had a little bit of money in the bank. And it took several years to get there. And I thought when I finally get to that point, even though I'm not rich, I may feel just a little bit more confident in myself when I enter a room. I got there, nothing. I remember when I started going to the gym more, I changed my diet up, and I went from somebody who could not bench press 75 pounds to somebody who could bench 2 plates for a set of 10, and that I thought maybe at that point I would feel more confident. Nothing. I remember when I had an amazing date. There was somebody who I didn't show interest in her. She actually started showing interest in me and constantly presenting herself so that I would ask her out. She would take things to my shop that literally weren't broken and pretend she was having issues with them. It was blatantly obvious what was going on. And this woman, in my opinion, was probably close to 10 out of 10 model class woman that's doing this. And I asked her out. We went out for a few times, went out to see some Broadway shows and some ballets and stuff together. And I thought, okay, I'm walking around Midtown Manhattan. I'm the person that most of the people that I asked out in high school would laugh or walk away, and I'm walking around Midtown Manhattan in my early 20s with a model class woman. Okay, this is, let's see what this does for my confidence. Essentially nothing. I felt the exact same way that I felt as a teenager when I was broke, socially awkward, had no accomplishments, and it just really confused the crap out of me. And again, the stumbling on this really happened as an accident. This overarching story kind of goes over 3 videos. Sometimes the best way to get what you want is to be a good person, the $30,000 pocket dial, and a word on addiction, waiting for rock bottom, and losing friends, where I talk about, this is a difficult video because I'm discussing a friend who's no longer around who actually got me a really good opportunity. So I was working out of a recording studio, and I had a deal with them where essentially I will fix everything that's broken in the studio, and you will never pay money for maintenance, and your clients will never complain. A lofty goal, but it's one that I achieved for over 2 years. None of your clients will complain. They will never ask for a refund. They will leave good reviews. You won't have to pay for maintenance. In exchange, I want to use the space as your office. The TLDR is I made a pocket dial that at the end of the year wound up costing me close to $30,000 because I couldn't keep my mouth shut because I was a jackass. And as a result of that, I got kicked out of that space. And there was a person who was actually incredibly helpful to me, and he's the gentleman that unfortunately passed away that I discussed in this video, that was very helpful in me getting on my feet and getting a new space. I did not have enough money for a first, a last, and a deposit on a commercial space in New York City. I did not have a good credit score. I did not really have any of what was necessary to be able to get back an office. And there was somebody who had signed for some of my packages who had spoken to a gentleman named Mr. John Grossbard, the Grossbard from Seinfeld, who had Planet to Planet Studios, 251 West 30th Street, that has been turned into a complete yuppie shit show, but back in the day used to be a really cool music building. Anyway, I digress. I go down into the basement and I talk with the guy. He doesn't ask for last month deposit, credit score, anything. Here, just pay the first month and take the space. There was a friend of mine that I talk about in this video about addiction, rock bottom, and losing friends. And he had referred me to Mr. John Grossbart. That's the John Grossbart from Seinfeld, who had a room in the music building, 251 West 30th Street, before it got turned into a yuppie shit show. That was a really cool music building. And he had a studio called Planet to Planet in the basement of it that he had for 30 years. And he had a room that I could rent. And he allowed me to rent that space without paying last month, without paying deposit, without doing a credit check, or any of the things that would have ruined my chance of getting the space. I did not have enough money to pay last month's security deposit in New York City for a commercial space in Manhattan, and I most certainly didn't have a credit score that was higher than a Tennessee area code at the time, so I would have been screwed if I had to go through things the normal route. I didn't have to go through things the normal route because my friend had recommended me, and he had also spoken highly of me, and other people that he knew had also spoken highly of me. Why did they speak highly of me? Well, there was a studio in 251 West 30th Street. Forget the exact name. I think it was Uptime on the 7th or 9th floor. And Uptime was a studio that was fairly well equipped, but it had problems from time to time. And when they would have these problems, sometimes because I'd be hanging out in the studio that I had just gotten kicked out of, my friend would come over and he would ask for help. And I would go over and I would help them out. And sometimes I would even try to interface with their clients in a way that would, ease their mind. So I wouldn't make it seem like I was somebody who was called in from the next building to fix something for somebody who's paying $65 or $90 an hour for a recording session. I would just kind of make it seem like I was just popping in, checking up on a few things, when in reality I was fixing a very serious problem that would have ruined their session. And they very much so appreciated that I did that. And I asked for nothing in return. In exchange for doing this, I just thought I was doing a friendly deed for somebody next door because I was bored. I didn't have anything to do anyway. I was waiting for one of my MacBook repair clients to walk through. That, small beans wasn't going to affect me later. In reality, the people that ran that studio and the people that worked at that studio spoke very highly of me when I was kicked out of my place, which meant that I was able to just walk in the room and instead of deal with eviction, losing all my stuff, going back to working in a park, figuring out how to make all of this work, how am I going to deal with if I get 4 clients at the same time and they're all in Midtown Manhattan, I'm screwed. I now have a space that I can afford. And it didn't matter if I had a credit score. It didn't matter if I didn't have last month's deposit and everything else. It didn't matter if I wasn't the businessman that you need to be to have that level of space or that level of freedom. I got it. And I'll be honest with you, at that point in my life, I had never felt as confident as I did marching into that space in my early 20s that I had absolutely no right to be in, no financial standing to be able to afford, no credit score to be able to get accepted to, with a company that I had just started because the guys upstairs said, oh yeah, he's a good dude. Here's what he did for us. I learned in that instance, this is what real confidence is. Confidence is a feeling of security that comes from knowing that the people that are close to you in your life are better off as a result of you being in their life. And the more people that feel that way about you, the more doors are just going to open for you, so that when something horrible happens, you have this natural support network that is not going to let you fall into the muck. It's not about whether you can bench 2 plates for a set of 10. It's not about having a beautiful girl in your arm. It's not about having money in the bank. It's about making other people feel secure, that want to have you around. So them acting in their own self-interest are going to want you to have a good life so that you remain around, because when you're around them, their life is better. As a result of their life being better when you're around, they're going to want your life to be better. They're not going to want me to get evicted, because if I get evicted, that means I'm not going to be able to walk over when they have an issue with their console and fix it for free. I was a technician at Avatar Studios back in 2007 and 2008. I learned with the best. Ricky Beacon, Gretchen Mathwich, Phil Lipscomb, Roy Hendrickson. These people instilled a great skill set in me at a very young age. And that skill set was available to them because I was in the next building and I was bored. If I was stuck doing house calls again, if I went back to Brooklyn to that crappy, ratchety ass apartment, I wouldn't be available to help them anymore. Some of this, admittedly, was probably the fact that they just liked shooting the shit with me and they heard something bad happened and I was a good dude. But a good portion of it was anytime something went wrong with their systems and I was free or I didn't really have anything else to do, I was happy to just go over and look at it and shoot the shit, and I wouldn't send them a bill. As a result of this, they helped me out when I sincerely needed. That is the point at which I learned that real confidence comes from providing others a feeling of security so that they may provide you a feeling of security in return. It's about other people having a vested interest in your security and well-being, which is why from that point on, I focused on ensuring that the people around me were as well off as could possibly be, but more importantly, that I would grow this circle of people who were better off as a result of me being in their life. I can't necessarily tell you exactly how it is that it was going to come back to me, but what I knew is that as bad things happen to me in my life, if there's a greater number of people who are better off as a result of me existing than me not existing, that somehow it would kind of work its way out. And what I've noticed over the past 15 years is that that has been the case. When I am walking into a room filled with people who are better off as a result of me being there than me not being there, I feel a genuine sense of confidence that would not come otherwise. And that's a sense of confidence that, again, it doesn't come from the logo that's on your fancy shirt or shoes. It doesn't come from you driving a fancy sports car. It doesn't come from you being handsome. It comes from other people having a sense of security as a result of you being around that they offer to you in turn because of their own self-interest. And when this was done, as I was loading my stuff into this new space that I literally could not believe that I actually had, what I realized is that that man would have never rented that space to me if I did not have that positive referral from these people who I had helped out in their time of need. He would have asked for a credit check. He would have asked for a security deposit. I would have been screwed. I would have been out in the street. I felt incredibly confident as I was walking my boxes in there and setting everything up. And I learned a lesson that day. The lesson is that the confidence that you feel is not as a result of your own internal metric. It's not as a result of I can bench 2 plates for a set of 10. It's not I have a beautiful woman on my arm. It's not that I have money in the bank. Rather, it comes from what you do for others and the value that you're able to provide others. When you help other people out, the other people kind of want to keep you around because you've been helpful to them, because you were able to provide them value. They want to make sure that your life is taken care of because they want people that help them to be around. When you have people around you that want to keep you around, it gives you a feeling of security. When you walk into a room that is filled with people who are better off as a result of you being in their life than they would be if you were not in their life, you're going to feel a sense of confidence that is particularly unique, that is different from going out on a day with a beautiful woman, having money in the bank, or coming off of a good gym session. Hitting those metrics is cool, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't try, but if you want to feel genuine confidence, in my opinion, the best way to get there is to be a good person. In this video, I'm talking about helping get a right to repair bill passed in Colorado for disabled people. I do not fix wheelchairs, and again, knock on wood, hopefully I'm not going to be disabled anytime soon when it comes to my ability to walk and get around. In spite of that, I still decided to spend approximately 1 or 2% of the money that I had raised with my nonprofit in order to get this done, and I put a little bit of focus into it just to make sure the lobbying firm involved wasn't a scam and to try and promote it a little bit through my YouTube channel and everything else. Not really a lot of skin off my back, but it was an easy thing to do. The reason I do these things at the end of the day, admittedly, yes, I am not a 100% angelic, altruistic person. I do these things because at the end of the day, it actually increases my sense of internal security and therefore confidence. The more people out there that can say that their life is slightly better as a result of you being in it, the more confident and secure you're going to be. Because when something bad happens, when you're about to have 300 pounds of your inventory evicted out of a space, when you don't even have a car to be able to drive it back, you might just find somebody next door that's willing to give you a good referral to a landlord that winds up giving you a space on crazy good terms. And things just kind of start to fall into place. When your life starts to fall apart, people tend to actually give a shit. They are personally invested in you. They actually want to take care of you in some sense because you have taken care of them. When you have security, you have confidence. Confidence does not come from wearing a $300 designer shirt. It doesn't come from walking down the street with a piece of eye candy. And it doesn't come from bulging muscles from your Decadura Bolin and Synthol. It comes from taking care of those around you so that they will want to provide security to you, which will in turn make you a more confident person. Sometimes the best way to get what you want is indeed to be a good person, which is why I genuinely believe in what I discussed in this particular video. If you want to feel like a more confident person, I don't think you're going to get as much fulfillment out of hitting these personal goals, especially if you're trying to take the easy way out to make them happen. Provide to others and see how they provide to you. Even in the early days of this YouTube channel was primarily rants. I know people are going to say it's board repair. No, it wasn't. Arrange my videos by oldest. It was rants. But what I did when I would talk about the repair industry is I would show how I did repairs in my own workshop, and I gave away as much as humanly possible. When I did my first 50 board repair videos, I had approximately 150 subscribers. Nobody was watching this channel, and those videos took many hours to do. At the time that I made these videos, virtually nobody was giving away information on how to do this stuff, much less making these guides that made it as easy as possible for anybody to follow along and click the links in the description, buy all the exact tools that I use to be able to do the job. This just didn't exist back in 2013 and 2014 the way it does now. I gave it all away for free. The reason I gave it all away for free, as much as I like to lie to you and tell you it's because I'm a good person, at the end of the day, I learned my lesson. I understood where real confidence comes from. It comes from a feeling of security. And when you help your neighboring repair shop add $30,000 to $60,000 a year to their gross income overnight, they're probably going to be invested in wanting to keep you around. When something bad happens to you and you don't know what it is later into the future, doors will open up for you in ways that they never open up for people that keep everything to themselves. The people that focus on their personal goals and metrics rather than focusing on making the community better for others, are just not going to have that same feeling of confidence and security. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. This video is dedicated to my friends that got me that first space that unfortunately is no longer here today because I was not as good a friend to him as he was to me. Hope you're in a better place, my friend. See you in the next video. Bye now.